Now for our What in the World segment. Something sinister is going on in the United States right now. It is making America's Jewish community very nervous, and it should alarm all of us.
Police responding to a Jewish community center after a bomb threat.
More than 100 headstones destroyed at a historic Jewish cemetery.
And the latest in a rash of bomb threats to JCCs across the country.
A just-published report from ProPublica found 160 acts of anti-Semitic vandalism in the United States between November of last year and February, like spray-painted swastikas and desecrated tombstones. And then there are the 145 bomb threats against Jewish organizations that ProPublica has counted already in 2017. Why are we suddenly experiencing an increase of anti-Semitism? If one looks at Europe right now, many immigrants of Arab origins harbor anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic views. But what's new is the rise of right-wing nativist political parties which are growing in popularity. Even 70 years after the Holocaust, in a continent that has few Jews left, many of these groups still harbor anti-Semitic sentiments right below the surface. Look at Hungary's Jobbik Party, the country's third largest, whose leader a few years ago demanded lists of Hungarian Jews who pose a, quote, national security risk, unquote. Hungary, one should point out, has fewer than 50,000 Jews left in a population of 10 million. But America is different, right? Well, yes. The Pew Research Center recently released a report stating that Americans express warm feelings toward Jews, giving them the highest rating of any religious group. And yet, the United States also seems to be experiencing an increase in threats directed toward Jews. The question is, where is it coming from? Mark Oppenheimer in the Washington Post says the threats are coming from all directions. On the left, there are some college students who attack Israel and by proxy dislike Jews. I would add there are unfortunately Arab and Muslim Americans who make that same spurious connection as well. But Oppenheimer continues, there is a large group on the right with anti-Semitic views as well, a motley mix of nativists, conspiracy theorists, twisted populists, and the paranoid and delusional. However, before we declare that violence towards Jews is on the rise, Oppenheimer says, we should discern what's new from what we're simply noticing for the first time. The uncomfortable truth is that anti-Semitism has always existed in the United States, as Mika Danzig points out in an article in The Forward. According to the FBI, since 1996, the vast majority of religion-based hate crimes in the United States, 65% on average, have been directed toward Jews, more so than any other religious group. But American Jews are more nervous now than at any time in recent memory. Many in the community do see the Trump candidacy and his presidency as fanning the flames of intolerance and opening the door to more anti-Semitic violence, whether intentional or unintentional. They cite, among other things, Trump's initial refusal to disavow Holocaust denier David Duke, Trump's flirtation with the alt-right movement, which the Southern Poverty Law Center says harbors anti-Semitic sentiments, and Trump's failure to mention Jewish victims in his statement by the president on International Holocaust Remembrance Day. According to Alison Kaplan-Sommer in Haaretz, Trump's reactions have added up to a narrative that has put the American Jewish community understandably on edge. At this joint session of Congress at the end of February, Trump finally made some strongly worded statements condemning anti-Semitic hatred.
Recent threats targeting Jewish community centers and vandalism of Jewish cemeteries, as well as last week's shooting in Kansas City, remind us that while we may be a nation divided on policies, we are a country that stands united in condemning hate and evil in all of its very ugly forms.
So, are anti-Semitic incidents on the rise since Donald Trump became president, or are we just paying more attention to them? We won't know for certain until the FBI releases its definitive 2016 hate crime statistics, which comes in November. But we do know that Jews, as well as many other groups in America, including immigrants, Mexicans, and Muslims, are feeling under siege right now. Next on GPS,